and accept miseries as coming from God for your own good and be thankful. So, what is the relation, what is the connection between being truthful and accepting miseries? So, a few thoughts went through my mind. I thought I'll share it today. But some of it might be a repetition from last discussion. So, first, let's address the part one, always be truthful. What does it mean, really? So, to understand it, all teachings of heartfulness are very basic and simple. Very basic and simple. And always Babuji used to make this statement, its simplicity of this heartfulness deceives. It's so simple to adapt, it's so simple to implement, it's so simple to practice. There should not be any difficulty in doing any of these practices proposed by or given by heartfulness. If we are finding it difficulty, that means we are not doing it the right way. Or we are not adopting it fully. Anyways, so going to the question, what is life? What is life? A very fundamental question, right? What is life? So life is an expression. And through its expression, it is also through the going through this life, it is also experiencing. So life is an experience and also an expression. So that is a very common thing for all animals, everything which is living. It is an expression. According to its consciousness or according to its state of its consciousness, it is experiencing the same life differently. Each one of us experiencing the same life differently because of each individual's own conscious state. Correct? And then when we are going through these experiences, so there is a certain reaction. So now I'll read at this point the Babuji statement about truthfulness. I jotted down here. Truthfulness really implies the sense of presenting one's own self in its true colors. This is the state at which the man exclaims spontaneously. So this is the state at which a man exclaims spontaneously. It is as it is. So this spontaneity, Daji also spoke about this in his many talks. So when I am expressing, if there are any blockers, hindrances while I am expressing, then what happens is that the truthfulness of that expression breaks. So in expression, we are holding it up. For example, an actor, expressing a very sorrow moment, he is crying his heart out. As soon as the director says cut, he is normal. It as though it appears his expression of sadness, he's weeping his heart out, appears real, but it is not real, it's not true. So whenever we distort our expressions, if that spontaneity is lost, then the truthfulness is missing. So what is true? Being truth is expressing as it is. Babaji again said it in many words. Your inside should be same as outside. That means you speak through the inner voice. It's not like they show in those in a movies where kids come and they express it as it is, right? Somebody is at the security gate and asking for the code, and the mother doesn't want to give the code because she doesn't know whom she is talking to. And the kid says, and the mother said, "Oh, I don't remember the code," to avoid it. And this happened really when we were in Atlanta at a family. And the kid immediately picks up the phone. "Oh, I know, I remember the code," and he gives the code. Right? So, see, there is no, I mean, they're not seeing the kids are open, innocent. But again, as we grow into adults, is mother lying? Yes, she says, "I don't remember the code." But there, she's protecting. So then what is always be truthful? So it's not about lying or telling the truth. It is a reaction according to the situation. See, we should not take things literally here. But still, how we react spontaneously, how we act without any filters, without holding it up, is being truthful. I'll try to explain it in different ways. So let's get to the complete understanding of this, right? So let's go to the second part, miseries. Who is not has seen ups and downs in life? Life is a movement. So when situations happen, what happens is we sort of willingly stop the movement of this life. That's why in especially in the Indian tradition, this cycle of birth and death, we are constantly stuck on it. The reason we are constantly stuck on it is we are holding it up. We are holding this moment of life because of situations in our life. So it is inevitable that life has to go through it again. We call that as karma. Right? So every life has gone through miseries, every life has gone through losses. There is a story from Indian scriptures. So these two demons, they are brothers. So one demon has a power to turn into any animal. Let's say if it turns into a goat and a tiger eats it, and this brother calls the younger one, the elder brother calls the younger one. The younger one's name is Vatapi. Vatapi come out and it will integrate itself in the tiger's stomach and he'll come out, tearing up the tiger's stomach, something like that. So what they do is, any travelers going through the forest, this guy turns into a goat and the cooked meat is served, and the brother, after the people eat it, the brother says, "Vatapi, come out," and he'll tear up everybody's stomach and comes out. And so they steal all the money which the travelers got. And why am I telling this story is our miseries are like this. For a moment you feel they are gone, they resurface again. They come out tearing all our heart and mind. And then, again we go back into that same stress. So it just so happens in the story, one saint walks into their house and he is fed with this goat meat. And the brother says, Vatapi, come out. And the saint says there is no Vatapi anymore because he is completely digested instantly. So, moral of the story is, the faster we digest these miseries, they don't come out and repeat themselves again. The faster we digest them, absorb them. I felt this is what Babaji exactly is saying. Treat miseries as divine blessings means absorb them as fast as you can. Like most of you know, in the Indian tradition, when they perform the rituals praying to the god, they put some food in front of the god. And after the ritual is complete, they distribute that food as prasad. Prasad meaning a divine blessing. A lot of people are very critical about it. Oh, you're putting the food in front of the god. The god is not going to eat. Typically, the god there is an idol. Is not going to eat. You are the one who is going to eat. But if you observe what's happening there is, whatever your intake is. So the intake is not just the food. We are absorbing so many things from the external world. We are seeing, we are hearing, we are thinking. All these are our absorptions into the self, into our consciousness, through emotions, through reactions, through actions, through thoughts, through smell. Everything is a food. So what happens is, if I am in a state of remembrance, always, what is remembrance? Again, in heartfulness especially, the deepest state we experience in this meditation today or in everyday's meditation. Hold on to that deepest state as long as possible. It just so happens all your expressions go through that meditative state. See how much it changes your life. So like this food, which is a divine blessing we eat, it supposedly does so much good, with so much positivity, with so much humility, with so much devotion. We eat that food. So the way that food gets absorbed into our body, and imagine, oh, I hate this what I am eating, I don't like it, and then you eat, what kind of a reaction it produces. So every emotion, every reaction, accordingly all our hormones and chemicals in the body, its structure changes, medically speaking. It affects us. If I'm constantly under stress, constantly under, the body thinks it is under stress and it is on threat, it is constantly activating its energies. See what happens. It reduces the lifespan. All animals, most of the animals don't live long enough as human beings because they are constantly under threat. They cannot sleep completely. Right? And their lifespan is reduced. So how much it affects when we treat all these miseries, problems as divine blessings. Look at in Jesus' life on the cross. He says, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. Means, oh God, why have you forsaken me? In Aramaic, it's the same language. In Hebrew, it's differently is pronounced. It says Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, something like that. So, and then later he says, "O Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing," something like that. See, his expression has changed. In the first statement, he's in that misery. He totally absorbed that misery, he accepted as is the divine blessing, his Father's blessing. And then suddenly compassion came into him. He says, forgive them. He's forgiving everybody who did that to him. He's forgiving everybody for their sins around him. See how much nobleness came into his existence the moment he accepted that misery. So this is how it changes. Our whole composition changes, our whole aspect of life changes. Then we don't hold our life, we move along with it. That moving along with it creates such a freedom is what is called the liberation. Right? So one lady, came to me. This has happened like recently, in the sense about 4 years back. And the moment she walks in, she could see she's very depressed and sad. So I said, "What's going on?" And she said her younger son passed away. And she's miserable and she's on depression medication. And she's wondering if meditation is going to help her. So I empathized with her and said, there is no way, no words will convince you, whatever I say, to come out of your misery, come out of your, loss. But few suggestions I can make for you. The number one suggestion is, take long walks. When you overwhelmed with this sorrow, take long walks. And number two suggestion was, please do not stop any medications until your doctor advice. And number three, most important advice is, every time you feel sad about your son, you pray for your son, so that he's be taken care of in the higher worlds. And number four suggestion I said is, exhaust this misery or sadness you are going through. The faster you can exhaust it, don't hold it up. Let it come out completely. You exhaust it. Don't say, "Oh, you're feeling very sad, depressed, and I want to stop it." You want to become normal. That's a very normal tendency. But let you go through it completely. Fully exhaust it. So a lot of times we don't allow that expression to complete. Here in this case, it's the expression of sorrow. We won't hold on to it. How can I come out of it? Immediately we are thinking. That's the human instinct, animal instinct. But when I transform this into a life or expression, exhaust it completely. When you exhaust it, there's no more sorrow. Even happiness, we must exhaust it as fast as we can. Anything, the moment we exhaust it, we are ready for the next dose, whatever that dose comes in life. When we don't exhaust it, we are held there. We are not moving anymore. We are stopped. If that moment is not there, life itself cannot become progressive and liberating. And Babaji is asking, this is a practice. You cannot do it on day one. You have to practice it every day. That's why it is added to a maxim. All maxims are supposed to be applied every day. So we go through so many things in life, there is a issue at the office, issue at work, and the kids need to be dropped and picked up. Oh, there is so much, we get overwhelmed. We even share with our friends, oh, it is so exhausting. So cleaning is one way of getting out all those impressions, stress we gather in a day towards the end of the day. See, this heartfulness practice is completely designed to make us, live a balanced life, at the same time live a very liberating life. Free life. It's a free, we are free in our mind all the time. So practice whatever the happiness, sorrows, everything you go through, express it fully. You don't have to express it with other people, but at least in your heart you can express them fully. If you are angry, express it fully in your heart. You don't have to tell it to another person. And then you will realize you misunderstood that person after you exhaust that anger in your heart. Just like when Christ was crying on the cross, "Oh God, why have you forsaken me?" He expressed it. And then he's ready for the next higher noble thing. So being truthful is that expression itself. If I am truthful, the misery will get exhausted as fast as it can be. So Vatapi is digested instantly. The misery is digested instantly. That means we have accepted that misery completely as a divine blessing. So any misery, put in front of the God and take that misery and absorb it as a prasad, as a blessing. And then you're done with it. You're ready for the next misery. So try it out, practice it, and adopt this practice completely so that, that balance is achieved in life. It's a life of moderation. A spiritual aspirant life is life of moderation. We are not negating anything here. At the same time, we are accepting everything as is as we go through this life. I'll stop here. Sorry, I took 7 minutes over. But if you have any questions, I can take. Otherwise, we can stop this call and then we can enjoy the rest of the day. Any questions?
I have one question.
Yes.
How do you get from that maxim to deduce this thesis?
I'm expressing myself.
Okay. I like it. I mean,
Brother Srikant, can I say you're exhausting yourself?
Yes, I am exhausting so that I can be ready for the next one.
But one question, sometimes it always rings in my ear. We are from India, and India is supposed to be a developing country always, and we have a lot of poor sections of the society, and we have a lot of daily wage laborers, which the Western society doesn't understand. Here we have all the comforts, we have everything, but we have seen the both sides of the diaspora, right? As we are educated in US and India, everywhere, so we know better outlook. But if you look at India, right, if you ask a daily wage laborer, if you go and tell them all this, who is already battling for his life, will that get into his life if you tell him exhaust all your negative energies so that you can become a better man? How will he take it? Do you think anybody in the lower strata of the society will they be able to absorb what we are talking now? Because since we are all having all good comforts, we are able to absorb all this and we are taking it so positively. And how are we going to educate somebody who are not even having anything, the basic needs in life? How are you going to just get them inspired? How?
Good question. So, even I'll tell you, even to think about spirituality, even to think about God, in a very matured way, I'll tell you, we have to have certain life status, financial and physical status. Otherwise, you are not even exploring these sort of things, right? But a downtrodden, like very poor person, uneducated and things like that, if you go and talk to him the spirituality and say, hey, can you please come to meditation, the first question he'll ask, what, will I be getting food there? Right? So in order to make it to reach the lowest level, first thing we need to at least give them how they can improve their financial status, and then you can probably induce this knowledge into them. But look at it this way, okay, having all these comforts, having all this, we are still miserable. Having all this information, we are still miserable. So where is this information going, even for us? So we need to understand, we need to think, okay, we are blessed, be happy, feel that gratitude, and then see, okay, if you have given me all this, then let me also handle the life as it is expressing to me. So each individual, that's why I called with a life. I did not talk about a knowledgeable person, a non spiritual person. I did not categorize anything like that. I just said life. That life could be an animal life, a human life, and a very rich man's life. Doesn't matter. Correct? So when life is expressing, and as this life is coming up with all these choices or problems, how should it react? That's all this Maxim is covering. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for patiently listening. And we'll see you again next week.